Welcome to the next countdown to Cybersec Global 2020. My name is Michał Rakowski and I'm a Director for Strategic Partnerships at the Kościuszko Institute, the organizer of the European Cybersecurity Forum Cybersec. Today my guest is Mr Casper Klynge, Vice President for European Government Affairs at Microsoft and formerly the first tech ambassador of Denmark. Mr Klynge, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure for us likewise. I think it's safe to say that at the beginning of this year, no one could really foresee how much the coronavirus pandemic will change the way we function. Amidst the lockdown and the uncertainty created by the pandemics, we could observe how much digital technologies and their providers can actually help us to carry on with our businesses, social interactions, and daily lives. In these extremely challenging conditions, some of the digital products and services became the key tools to overcome those challenges. So, Mr. Klynge, do you think that the pandemic has developed the role of technology providers? And if yes, in your opinion, how it can affect the EU technology regulations?
Well, thanks very much for asking what I think is a really timely question. I'm standing here in Brussels. We are now 6 months into the global pandemic. And if anything, I think COVID-19 has shown the enormous dependency in handling the immediate crisis with technology and with digitalization. But I think we also, as we moved a little bit further into the pandemic, have seen how incredibly important digitalization and technology will be for the recovery of COVID-19. Creating new jobs, retaining jobs, helping the economy rebound, but also making sure that our healthcare systems are up and running. And it goes without saying that technology companies, including Microsoft, we played an important role in the pandemic. But I think with that role comes enormous responsibility. With our different technologies, whether it's our machine learning or AI or cloud services, or even with Teams helping people to communicate. We have to make sure that those technologies are in compliance with what I would call European values and European rules. I think we have to make an extra effort, to be honest with you, and that's going to be important. I also think the dependency on those technologies will raise, let's say, the appetite for looking at how to regulate the technology space or the technology sphere. I don't think that's a particularly European topic. I think that will apply across the world. But, I remain absolutely convinced that Europe will remain the epicenter for creating the guardrails around technologies, making sure that we are held accountable for what we do. And since we are talking about cybersecurity in this format, I wanted to sort of point to one area which I think is going to be instrumental, and that is, of course, the NIST directive. We are in the middle of a review. We are a full supporter of that. We think that the NIST directive has really put Europe at the forefront in making sure that we have the right institutions, the right formats in place for defending ourselves against cybersecurity. What we would like to be part of is, of course, making sure that this is not only a government or institutional endeavor, but also the private sector is brought into the arena, because we do play an important role, not least in also fighting the threat from cybersecurity.
Absolutely. And when we talk about the role or the global technology governance, it certainly requires informed cooperation from both the public and private sector. So considering your former role as the Danish tech ambassador and your present role at the Microsoft in European government affairs, how do you see the role of cyber diplomacy in the cooperation of governments and the big tech?
I actually wished I could say that it's an issue that is not as important today as it used to be, but unfortunately, everybody who is listening in, and both you and I know that is not the case. We've seen over the last 5 years an increase in the number of attacks coming from criminal networks or from state actors. And we've also seen, even during COVID-19, that there has been some particularly vicious attacks against everything from the WHO to specific hospitals, etc. So the threat from cyber attacks is here to stay, and to some extent, because of our dependency on technology and digitalization, that threat is bringing the necessity of us trying to mitigate those vulnerabilities. And I used to work for a government, and I work for a big technology company. But my view remained the same, that governments cannot do this alone. The private sector cannot do it alone. We have to really work together internationally, multinationally, but also multi-stakeholder-wise. We in Microsoft have enormous resources allocated to try and defend our customers, citizens, democracy, I would say, across the world. We have more than 3,000 people working on cybersecurity. We scan, just to give you an indication, more than 400 billion emails every week to remove malware and ransomware. And I think that shows that in today's world, whether we like it or not, private companies like Microsoft are among the first responders in really defending our societies, defending security. So what I would say is that ultimately we need to make sure that what we do and the technologies we bring about are in support of, in this case, Europe. We've seen just a few days ago the President of the European Commission underlining the importance of digitalization, the importance of bringing Europe forward. I think cybersecurity is an incredibly important part of that, and the private sector will have to make sure that we provide tech that is fit for Europe in order for Europe to be fit for the digital age.
Yes, certainly. And as the multi-stakeholder debate is also the mission of the European Cybersecurity Forum, Cybersec, could I kindly ask you to invite our viewers to join the 6th edition of this event?
I hope you will join me for the European Cybersecurity Forum Together Against Adversarial Internet. I think this is a very timely discussion. We have to make sure that we defend our societies against the threats from cyber attacks.
Thank you, Mr. Klynge. That was a real pleasure to talk to you. I encourage everyone.
Absolutely, be happy to. Thanks and good luck.